Hello friends! In the video we will say something briefly about the events in March, of course from the astrological point of view, but not only. I will try to speak about those events in the context of wider events. And I would like to mention something that I haven't mentioned for a long time, and that is that I do not deal with classical astrology. And please understand my videos as an inspiration for your life, for your thoughts, perhaps for your change, and do not take what I'm talking here about literally, because astrology has an effect on us through our energies. It's not rational art or science as you want. So this month full moon will be in Virgo on the 7th of March, and then new moon will happen on the 21st in Aries. From the important transits, let's mention some of the most important ones. The Sun is until the 20th in Pisces, and then after that in Aries. Between the 20th and 21st is spring equinox, so finally it is going to be spring according to our astrological calendar. Then Mercury, most of the month, it will be in Pisces, and from the 20th in Aries. Venus is in Aries from the 16th, then in Taurus. Mars is until the 25th in Gemini, and then it's in Cancer. Jupiter is in Aries. Saturn until the 7th in Aquarius, then in Pisces. This is the big thing. Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and then another big thing, Pluto until the 23rd in Capricorn, and then in Aquarius, long-awaited event, Pluto in Aquarius. The month begins with two interesting conjunctions. One is Venus conjuncts Jupiter in Aries, and the other Mercury conjuncts Saturn in Aquarius. Both of those conjunctions happen on the 2nd of March. Which means that the very beginning of the month is quite good for agreements, diplomacy, interpersonal relations, trade, and learning. These conjunctions occur a few days before the full moon, and this is very, very good sign. We can use those few days until the 7th, let's say, to do something which is quite perhaps important for us, or to solve something. If we need to solve something, we can take action and things like that. Those few days are especially good for Taurus, Libra, and Aries people. Also quite good for Sagittarius. Then the full moon in Virgo itself completes its 6-month cycle, not only for Virgos, but mainly for Virgos and for all of those who started some new activities in August of the year 2022, when was new moon in Virgo. So this full moon won't be as dramatic as February one. However, the full moon in Virgo, with many planets in opposition in Pisces, is not really pleasant thing. Until March 21st, when the Sun enters the sign of Aries, and the official start of spring is occurring, then until that time the energy is hazy and it's unclear and even sometimes exhausting. Fortunately, from March 11th to 15th, Jupiter makes conjunction with Chiron in Aries, which brings some new ideas about healing. It can really heal also. Hopefully, this will not be the time when crazy people who are enemies of humanity will invent more diseases. In a positive way, when we talk about this conjunction, it can bring potentially salvation and some sort of healing, and we definitely need it. It will appear sometime in the middle of the month, so we will see why we need that. Or maybe we will not see it, but it will be there. Certainly, the most important events in March are that Saturn enters the sign of Pisces for the first time in 30 years, while Pluto enters the sign of Aquarius for the first time in 245 years. I talk about these transits in the annual video. The name of this video is Year 2023 in Search of Land. If you haven't seen that video, please check those transits there. I'm not going to repeat now what I spoke about there, but I will also make that video long annual video shorter. There are going to be shortened versions of that video, so you will see what was mentioned there. Soon it will be on YouTube. But to follow up the new Saturn transit in Pisces, also I would recommend to you to watch my video 3 years old. And the name of this video is Saturn in Aquarius from 2020 to 2023, Freedom and Limitations, Pyramids and Networks. This is the name of that video. It is very important to know what the meaning of Saturn's transits through the sign of Aquarius was, and only then we will understand why it will now be marked by a strong sense of the end in Pisces. And it will be clear to understand why systems, towers, and cities will now collapse, hopefully their cities, not ours. And while plans of the so-called deep state will systematically fail, and why it will be difficult to create new foundations for future life. It will be really tough in this next 2.5, 3 years. So Saturn stays in one sign for a little less than 300 years and brings the most difficult lessons, which we have to integrate. We can't refuse that. We cannot get rid of Saturn by telling him, oh, just go away. That is impossible. Because through Saturn we have to learn something that is important, even though it's quite unpleasant. In the previous 3 years, we learned that freedom is what freedom is actually. We learn the importance of freedom and what it means to be a free person. Of course, we learned that through lockdowns, And we also learned that we need to network, to connect, because we were separated. That's how Saturn teaches. Usually from giving us opposite example. And we also learn that we cannot trust corporations and their organizations, as is, for example, World Health Organization and also United Nations and other theirs organizations, to say it briefly. And now we will learn how to heal ourselves, With Piscean energy, healing is important. Maybe those who they need to be healed, we will see. We will learn that everything must fail, and in order to be born, we will learn that there is karma, some sort of karma exists, or destiny if you want. And that this rule, as you saw, you will reap, really means something. We will also learn a lot about modern technology and all the dangerous things that it brings. And I also hope that we will also learn something about that modern technology can completely change our lives for better. If it's possible, we will also learn that. We'll see. This moment of healing that I mentioned will be particularly important, not only because the World Health Organization, but because they're actually planned to be the new Gestapo of the world. And because they're doing these things with this organization, they're making big mess in medical sciences and medical care, and most probably current health system is going to fall apart in many of the countries of the world, especially European Union is now is the target. And it's really trouble there to be healed in a hospital. It is already happening, and we will most probably remember that we spoke that European Union is a Scorpio. It has many, many planets in Scorpio, and now Ketu, or the South Node, is touching each of these planets, So most probably European Union will fall apart, but it is coming from inside. The transit of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, for now only for a short time, is happening until July 18th. And everything that will happen now in this short period of time, it will be very symbolic. We cannot really see big things happening, but something must happen. Something it will be clear that the situation is different. And further, this transit indicates transformations of society in all segments of life and almost on all continents, but maybe different in different parts of the world. I will talk about Pluto in more details another time. I will mention now a few words here. And I also mentioned Pluto in Aquarius in that recommended video that is about Saturn in Aquarius. So what is significant is that at the end of February and most of March, Pluto passes over the 29th degree of Capricorn, reaching its peak in its transit through this sign that has lasted since 2008. Pluto was the last time at this critical 29th degree of Capricorn in the year 1777, shortly before it entered the sign of Aquarius, which will be now the same, of course. As you know, the transit of Pluto 250 years ago marked the creation of the USA, and this country is now reaching its critical point, definitely. Otherwise, the 29th degree of each sign is critical, but this is very special because this is the degree of Capricorn, and this means politics and ruling structures. So they are losing now here. They are at the critical point. Pluto in Capricorn marked the maximum concentration of power of the previous plutocrats. So that was from 2008 until now. And now when it is reaching its critical point, and when Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius, this actually means that the power passes into the hands of new structures. And even Pluto is now going to be for the short time, it should be somehow clear. We should see something of this. Pluto in Aquarius announces a total transformation of social organization in all societies, as we said. And most probably there are going to be several global social models. I will not say here that in some parts of the world, men will be robotic and telecontrolled, but I will hope that in the coming decades, in all of the parts of the world, people will gradually free themselves and organize themselves in a new and more human way. Nevertheless, Pluto will show its dark side in the first years of this transit through Aquarius. And the dark side will be clear until 2026, I guess. And I assume that until that time, humanity will be threatened by technocrats who are trying to establish digital fascism. We can say that with Pluto in Aquarius, terror is coming under the sponsorship of science. Because everything what they did in 2021, they were saying scientists said that we should get that and things like that, So now the terror is coming through science, actually. Fortunately, we can see that new epidemics are falling now. Nothing is happening as they wanted. They had plans, but nothing happened. But that can be also because they play many games in all directions. So it seems they don't know what they want more to reach in this time. They're certainly not going to give up yet, nor the countries of the East easily can prevent them from doing what they wanted to do. So it's all process. We are still in the process. We will be for a few more years. The change in the sign of these two important planets, which almost completely determine our earthly existence, I'm speaking about Saturn and Pluto, will inevitably cause significant world events. And at the same time, we also have Uranus in Taurus, which is now direct and very dangerous. And we also have Neptune in Pisces, which is extremely powerful. In negative manifestations, this combination can be seen as the symbol of misfortunes that we are going through and the troubles that we are having and the fear that we have always humanity, will we survive or not? But of course, this Neptune and Uranus, they also have positive signs. They have positive influence, but they're so strong energies, that actually they symbolize also troubles that we have. So let's remind ourselves what is happening. We had earthquake in Turkey and in Syria. I, of course, think that it is artificially caused, and that this is one of the biggest terrorist attacks ever. They say that Fukushima earthquake was also caused by seismological weapons to slow down Japanese economic development. This Japanese earthquake was caused because Japan wanted to use new technologies, which was not the liking of the globalists and the monetary fund. As for Turkey and Syria also, especially for Turkey, there are books where some people wrote them. I saw them speaking about that in 2007, 2013, and 2021. So there are more books on this topic where they were describing that Turkey is a target for HARP attacks. Whether HARP or some other geophysical weapon was used is no longer so important for us. It is important that people are died and that we all need really to learn what kind of world we live in. We need really to understand that this is not just a game, and it's not, the trouble is not some war that is happening. Every war is trouble, but it's not that. We are facing much bigger problems as humanity. And I think that even if somebody doesn't want to learn this, they will have to in the next 2 or 3 years. And it's clear why many people cannot understand that many of the things that we are going through are artificially caused. They cannot because they're afraid. They're afraid that that's what they thought, that what they believed in is a lie. When our beliefs fail, we feel fear, strong fear, and that's the reason. By the way, when we speak about the earthquake, there was in the same days, there was an earthquake in Palestine, in Tajikistan, some people say in Mexico, and they were not even mentioned. They mentioned shortly Romanian earthquake, and others no. So maybe they're sending also some message to Turkey. Furthermore, we also see that there are many sabotages of the trains in USA that they are repeating, and those trains were transporting dangerous chemicals. I found in American news more than 40 trains. Some other news say even more than 100 trains were sabotaged. Then we have sabotage of the Nord Stream, this very important gas pipe on the north of Europe, which was also state terror, I guess. Then we have the attempt to imprison people for climate change, which is happening because it was that cold in USA or too warm in Britain in summer. Then we all the time have this geoengineering. Then we have poisoning of the air and food constantly. I've heard that they start poisoning water in USA, and then also they try to spread radiation panic, for example, in Poland and maybe north of Germany. And of course, it was not enough, all of this. America also has declared war on aliens. And some wise people said, and I believe them, that these objects that were flying were holograms. I believe it's really true. And when we speak about all of those things, let's remind ourselves that Americans were preparing Blue Beam Project, which meant that they were going to create Jesus, which will appear as a hologram, and this would be like the second return of the Jesus. So crazy, crazy things are happening. And I just want to warn you, when I speak about America, I don't speak about American people. I speak about evil people who are actually using America and its potential to be the Gestapo of the world, to rule the world, to make the rest of the world afraid of their power. And so So we also mentioned that Uranus is dangerous and Neptune can be dangerous also. And Neptune was in ancient astrology actually the planet of earthquakes, tsunamis, and floods. Until the equinox that will happen on 21st of March, the energies of Pisces are very strong. And this is the sign of decay, a sign that has nothing in power to nothing that has nothing to control or to support matter, let's say. So that's why everything falls apart in Pisces. And Pisces also represents various cosmic secrets, and of course many secrets have been revealed. Many laws of the spirit have been revealed, but they are just not telling to us about this. It is increasingly obvious that crazy people who want to rule the world are preparing some new religion also, which would be secularized, something like communism that they prepared also for the east of the world. And in order to control people, and most probably we will learn something about this with strong Piscean energies, either now in March or until Neptune is in Pisces, so they have 2-3 more years for that. It is also increasingly clear that they can do almost anything to control people. Many people are implanting chips and biosensors into their body, and some implant chips because they want to track their dreams or they want to count kilometers when they run, which is completely ridiculous. And many, of course, just got that chip when they received that thing. You know what I mean? And definitely they also can follow us through mobile phones, which they're doing through our internet, and they know everything in their quantum computers. It's written everything about us. Just now the question is how successful they are in teleconducting us. That's what we don't know still. Well, Nikola Tesla discovered that our human brain is not an accumulator, or that it does not contain any records. He says our minds are empty. And he also says that our brain has simply the ability to react. Of course, our human brain controls body, but this is not what Tesla is talking about, and I'm not talking about that. So if our brain reacts, if this is the only ability that the brain has, except reading the body, so then the question is, what does it react to? And if until now we have been connected with cosmic or some divine energies, let's say, what should we be connected with in the era of modern technology? Is it that they're cloud, or maybe something similar? You see, that's why they have been so successful in neuroprogramming and studying this neuroprogramming in the last decades, because they want to use it, of course. However, Tesla goes on and says that by analyzing our retina, I guess that's how you say in English, mental processes can be recorded, and they can even be recorded and reproduced. And maybe they're doing that through our through our computers, and most probably they're learning how to do it. Cameras are everywhere, so most probably they're doing that also. Now you would wonder why I'm talking about this. Well, I'm talking about this because we are in the energies of Pisces. And Pisces does not only represent religion, music, and art. In our time, Piscean and Neptunian energy are symbols of modern, invisible technology, IT, and artificial intelligence. And now in the middle of the month, March of 2023, the Sun and Mercury will make conjunction with Neptune and Pisces, which leads us towards that to learn something about this. And now I want to say something about true mythology, about this, the same energies but true mythology. Let's mention here Hekate, the goddess who is also a master of deception, And maybe that can help us to understand this strange and confusing hidden energies of Pisces and their artificial intelligence. So Hekate is the three-headed goddess of the subconscious. Her companion is the three-headed dog Kerberos. The same dog has Pluto. Sometimes this goddess is equated with the moon, sometimes with Artemis, also goddess Artemis. It is an old deity, very old, similar to Uranus. After all, Uranus are three-parted, the same as Hekate is, thus symbolizing birth, growth, and death, which is also done by the moon itself. So those such deities predict fateful reversals, because everything has its birth, growth, and end. Hekate represents the archetype of the incomprehensible depths of the unconscious. And her world is very, very secretive. You see, that's how secretive is their artificial intelligence now to us. Furthermore, Hekate represents a form of the female principle, according to which the principles of logic do not apply, but the power of enchantment and bewitchment does. You know, this is that goddess that can bewitch somebody. When does this archetype appear, you would ask? Well, it always appears when either on individual or on collective level, logic does not help. And in that time, we get answers to our questions through dreams, art, or symbols that are sent to us unconsciously. However, we can't trust those symbols either, because they mislead the mind. So it's better in such times just to wait. It is the best to wait until clearer images emerge from the secret waters of the unconscious. Or if you want, it's better to wait the night to pass. In March it will dawn already at the time of the equinox, but Hekate follows us until Saturn and Neptune leave the sign of Pisces, which will be at the end of 25 or during the year 2026. And of course, it's only up to us how we will react to these energies. Will we follow follow orders, let's say, of crazy technocrats, or someone who plays techno-god? Or will we be maybe spiritually strong, so strong that we can maintain this pressure that will be on us? The goal of the transit of Saturn through the sign of Pisces is for every one of us to establish contact with the unconscious part of our personality and to surrender to some higher guidance and not to submit to generally valid social norms. Of course, this to submit to some higher guidance, this higher guidance should not be that techno-God. We should believe in God that it's in us, our human God, if you want. And it will tell us everything. Just wait, it will say. Something like that. Let's also say why many... no, I don't want to speak about that, sorry. Now, you will wonder now, why do I speak about these things? Why do I speak so much about Piscean energies? And I don't mention war. Well, of course, war that is happening now between Russia and Ukraine is an important thing. But it is still not that important, according to astrology. More symbols that are warlike appear in April. But of course, the war is important, but it is not more important than the global plan of the technocrats. Let's be clear about that. Because crazy technocrats does not have that war as a goal. They want that to destroy Russia, and then they would imply transhumanism and destroy the planet and these kind of things, you know. So about the war, I will speak more in my video for April. when the first eclipse will take place in Aries. It will be on the 20th of April. Of course, we prepare for such events many months in advance, and we see that we are preparing for that now, even physically in a way, they are collecting soldiers and these kind of things. And really situation gradually changes when eclipses start happening on the axis of Aries Libra. So also lunar nodes are going from the Taurus Scorpio axis slowly this year to the Aries Libra axis, and the question of war is bigger and bigger. NATO is the sign of Aries, and NATO will now rush into the war, of course, with the help of its eastern wing, as they say, just at the time when solar eclipse will happen. And if you know a bit astrology, then think of that. If they can be successful, if they go into the war when they have solar eclipse in their sign, NATO. So let's also remember that NATO wars take wars according to the same principle as the colonial power. So they hire warriors and they use other countries, other nations' resources. They never had resources or their warriors, And now, instead to use their warriors, or they will also America or somebody, now they will use Eastern Wing. And we know who is there on this. The majority of Slavic people are there, Romanian and some other. And many Slavic people suffered terribly in the last century when communism was implanted into these countries, and many other awful things happened. Many Slavic countries suffered in centuries before also, and it's never enough for them, Still among them, there are many who want to support NATO and crazy plan of America or American structures. But since Russia is the world's largest military power, it could destroy Ukraine in 3 days. And now it is up to you and up to everybody to think why they don't do that. It means that they want to teach something, this part that is in the war with them, and maybe also some other Slavic people. I think that finally the ultimate target from the Russian side will be those who are real instigators of the conflict. I think that they will target them. But let's see, we have for the war, we have this and next year, so we'll see. This definitely is not an ordinary war. It's still not a big war. It is becoming bigger. And finally, it can be, of course, one of the biggest wars ever. In a way, this is going to be now the continuation and the end of the Second World War, which will finally then later lead into new civilizational model for the period of the next 250 years. And in that time, Slavic people and Asian people will have very, very significant role in the world. From the March 21st, when the sun enters the sign of Aries, male energies are strengthened. There will be a lot of planets in Aries, which bring dynamic in the world. And for Aries themselves, it is period for action, also for Libra and also for all of others. The vernal equinox announced the new situation. It will not be that foggy after that. This mysterious Piscean energy will withdraw in a way, and everything will be more clear. From March 16 also, Venus is in Taurus in the best possible position. So it can bring pleasant days, even though everything is so dynamic and uncertain in the world plane. Well, in any time, books are written, children are born, people get married. There is no need to wait for all of this to stop and then to enjoy life a little bit. One should enjoy the beauty of life every day. And that's what Venus will remind us in the second part of March. And that is all for now. You will find all of the contacts and recommended videos under this video on YouTube. Feel free to schedule personal consultations with me Just please keep in mind that I'm involved in astrological psychology, spiritual astrology, and not in classical astrology. I also offer through my web pages, the name of them is symbolicthinking.net. I offer a new method that the name of it is the change of code, the change of perception. I developed this method in the past years by working with my clients and using different techniques. And on my web pages, you will see a brief explanation of that, how I see the possibility for changing unconscious programs. I also recommend to everybody who watches my videos or similar videos to study astrology a bit. And I also offer in English online astrology course, which you can see on your computer or your mobile phone and study if you're interested in that. I have many online materials in other languages, unfortunately not in English, but at least I have that online astrology school. If you like the video, like it, sign up for my channel, and thank you very much for all that in advance. I wish you happiness, joy and luck, and see you soon.